What's up guys, my name is Veikko and welcome to a new phenomenal creations video. In this channel, we do a lot of projects inside Adobe After Effects, Fusion 9 regarding motion graphics, tips and tricks, but also visual effects just like this one. So if you're interested in any of those categories, please consider subscribing to the channel and hitting that notification bell so you don't miss on any video. Without further ado, let's jump into the tutorial. So guys, today we're doing something pretty spicy, some pretty fiery stuff. So not so long ago I really did post this on the community tab, this GIF or GIF, comment down below which team you're on, GIF or GIF, about this fire effect here. And not just this fire burning from an oil tank, which looks pretty good, also this hand ignition effect, so I'm setting my hand on fire, and a lot of you guys really seem to love this effect, so I'm really excited to teach you guys this right now. So let's not talk about it, let's just go ahead and create this. But before we do that, let's go ahead and see what this effect really packs. So we got the fire element, it's looking good, it got some realistic glow and fall off, we got some heat distortion. And then if you really pay attention, you can see on my character here, we have this pulsing glow here. So this looks pretty good, reflecting the colors from the flames. So that's super nice. Okay, let's go ahead and start doing this. So I'm going to go and drop my footage. And as usual, as you know, if you want to use my footage for educational purposes, you can use them however you want. Just check the link down below. We're just going to drag it to the new comp button, so we create a new composition based on the frame rates and every parameter which is baked into the metadata of your camera. And here we have our footage. We're going to turn the sound off, and it looks like this. So we can see the movement is pretty smooth here since this is shot in 50 frames per second. What I want to do is to slow it down to 2 times slower because that silky smooth motion is really appealing to this eye. But before we do this, we're gonna hit Command K or Control K to rename this composition for the first. Let's call this tutorial for educational purposes, and frame rate is 50 frames per second, just like my clip. And I'm gonna make this composition 7 seconds long, double the duration, and then go to right click and time stretch, and 200 the stretch for 200 to make it twice the length. So now it has some silky smooth motion, and this does just work if you do have a higher frame rate shot. So if you're shooting 25 frames per second and you speed it up to, or you slow it down 2 times, it will look choppy, but this is 50 frames per second, so it doesn't look choppy. Super good. Awesome. So now the first thing we need to do, we have some slide motion, not a lot of it, but we have some, so we need to track. We have to do some motion tracking. This is going to be super easy since we're just going to do a really simple planar 2D tracking. Let's go to this panel here and take new null object. Oh, that became a shape layer. New null object here. Let's hit enter and call this track here. We can go ahead and change the color to something like pink. Oh, that's not cool. Lavender. No, that's also very terrible. Let's take orange. Orange is our track. So keeping us organized with some coloring here. Have a track here. Let's select the footage because we're gonna embed the data in here. Let's go to click track motion in the tracker panel. If you don't see this, go to the window and enable tracker. Track motion here. It will open up the layer panel. Let's go and zoom in with the scroll wheel and find a good point to track. I find this high contrast point here pretty good. And let's go ahead and go somewhere around here in the corner. Zoom in some more. This is the target area here, and this is the search area. So if you make this super big, it can jump from the points. So let's keep this nice and tidy here. Good. And then let's go ahead and go to edit target, keep it on the track, so all the data will go to this track layer, and click track forward. And it should stay there pretty nicely since this is a pretty high contrast point here. That's how it works the best. It was a really solid track. Let's go ahead and apply it to the target, to the track. Click OK. and boom, we got our keyframes. It's shown in the footage, but it's actually also in the track here, so no problems there. Now let's go ahead and put our fire element on here, shall we? So we have our fire element, and it's from the awesome guys over at ActionVFX. You know these guys, I have talked about them too much, almost, to be honest. No, never too much. These guys do some phenomenal work here, so I just love their products. So fire element, and they're awesome enough to give you guys this fire element for free down below. It's a 720p render, but it's all pre-keyed, and it's yours forever. So that's a little treat from them and from me to you guys. So use them however you want. Use them for these kind of effects and any kind of effects. So that's pretty cool. But also, if you do mind, go over to their website and use the coupon code phenomenal2017 to get yourself hooked 20% off anything on the website. So go check it out there. Phenomenal2017. Go get yourself some ActionVFX for a really good price there. Now, I said it, they don't sponsor this video, but I'm just gonna say it, so now you got that promo code up in your sleeve. Let's go back to the composition. Let's go ahead and bring our fire element here. Put it here right on top. Boom, looks good. It's pretty fast, but we have a really good thing with this one here. It's shot in 60 frames per second, so as you guessed it, we can go ahead and time stretch it. We can go slow it down by the factor 200. And now we got some silky smooth fire going on that will match the silky smooth motion. Alright, let's go ahead and place it somewhere around on our oil tank like we want, like here. That looks pretty nice. It looks pretty good. There's not a lot of movement in the shot, so we almost don't see a difference, but it's still floating around since it's not parented to the track here. So let's go to the first frame where we want to mess around with the positioning, somewhere around there. Now let's go ahead and take the pick whip tool here, this little spiral, and let's go drag it to the track. This will get all the tracking information to this fire element, and we press play. Now it's stuck to the oil tank. So now we have something set on fire. Let's go and edit on this fire a little bit. We can see this there's this fire element that should be on the ground, but we don't have ground, so we have to mask that off. Hit G on your keyboard or hit the pen tool up here. So go ahead and zoom in. Let's just make a really simple mask around this part, like this. Hit F on your keyboard to go to the feather options. Let's first subtract this from the fire and then feather this out so it doesn't be so jagged here. Let's go back to fit here. Nice, this looks good. So now it's time to work on the fire to make it look a little bit more interesting. And how we're going to do this is, let's go ahead and first, we could go in and resize this. For example, let's go ahead and put the anchor point with the Y key down the bottom. So when we scale this up, it scales up from the bottom. Let's make it a little bit bigger, more mighty. Let's go ahead and solo this layer so we don't see anything else but the fire. Then let's go to the effects controls here and start doing stuff. We're going to add some glows and other cool effects here. First, let's go ahead and find a solid composite effect. The solid composite is basically adding like a black or any color solid behind this fire element. So we don't have to create a solid and a pre-comp. We can just add it here real simply. So take a solid composite, put on the fire element. Let's make it this black. And why we do this is just this will bring out more color and more accuracy to the glow and how it fall off. So it's a minor thing, but I really think it's worth using. Then what we're gonna do is use a cool effect called the exposure effect from the color correction tab. This is just to add real cool effect, just to add brightness and exposure to an element. Something like 0.75, that's looking pretty good. And this is just to add this little subtle exposure, so we bring out some more color and more detail. Now it's time to add our first glow effect. So let's type in glow in the effects and presets panel and find our glow effect. Put it right here, and it looks freaking terrible. I don't like this at all. So we have to go and move and change a little bit on these parameters. But before we do anything, let's go ahead and go for the glow colors. Let's not use the original colors, just use the A and B colors. So we have control. We have a control over the coloring this is glowing with. And let's have this color A to be something I really like, warm orange, stuff like this. And have the B color to be something very similar, more on the red side and more like this brown color. Something like this. Okay, it's gonna put the glow threshold to 25% here, and let's go ahead and glow radius to 250% to have really a nice spread there. And let's go ahead and select the color looping to sawtooth A and B. That will just tie it up in a cool package. But now, as you can see, we have some really strong colors, and the fire is overexposed. And if we look at the shot here, this is exposed for daylight, so we can't have an overexposed fire. It should be somewhere in the same area there, right? So let's go ahead and make this glow operation screen like this. So then we can see all the details in the fire. Looks a lot better and nicer. And that's also a big good tip, to have the fire elements in the screen, the blending mode, when we play with fire in effects, so it looks a lot better. We're not done here yet. Let's go ahead and duplicate this glow with Command D, Control D, duplicate this glow effect, and just change the glow radius to 800 pixels. Boom, some more radius glow there. Let's duplicate one more time to give that highlight glow, but this time let's make the radius 100 and put the glow threshold to 85%. This just adds a little bit more like this edge highlight. We can drop this maybe down to like 75%. Yeah. Nice. Looks good. So now when we have this, what we have to do is to uninstall the layer and put the whole mode to screen. And now we have a pretty sweet fire effect here. I'm gonna do a quick render so we can see what we're doing. Alright, so this is what we got. We got a cool fire with some cool glow. We can check out the before and after with the glow effect. It really makes a difference. I like how it's looking, and we can also go, and anytime we can go and change these parameters if you're following along, to make the less yellow, more yellow, however you want, more glow, more exposure, and like this. We got the fire down. Now we have to make myself glow. We have to make my body react to the coloring here. How we're gonna do this? Let's go ahead and turn off this fire element. Let's go ahead and create a new adjustment layer and call this body glow, like this. And what we're gonna do is go ahead and add a curves layer, or a curves effect here. But before we do that, let's go ahead and restrict ourselves to the body. We have to have a body glow. So select the pen tool and make a mask around my body. Really quick and dirty. Move those points a little bit. And why I'm not doing a really detailed is that because when we're doing some feathering for the effect, so we have a smooth edge, if we go to the line, it will go ahead and bleed out of the body. We don't want this. So now we got that. Let's go to the feather, and let's feather this out to 60 pixels. We don't see anything because we haven't done anything. And let's go to the curves and let's start do stuff. Let's go ahead and drop the shadows a bit. Let's lift the highlights. Bump up the shadows just a touch. Let's go to the red panel. Let's go give it some redness. Some redness, good. Let's go to the blue tab and drop the blues to get some bit more yellow. And gosh, maybe go to the green and give it some like this. Really, really settle like this. Really settle glow. Now, so let's have the body glow. Let's go ahead and parent that to the track so it moves moves along here. Good. Let's go ahead and drop. We need that pulsating, that reactive pulsive of exposure for our effect. So we're gonna use the exposure effect, and we're gonna show you a little cool trick you can use instead of for example, manually animating the opacity from 0 to 100, 0 to 100, 0 to 50, and you know this for your whole clip that can take ages. And I'm gonna show you a trick that looks maybe a little more realistic, and it's also a lot quicker. I'm gonna use the exposure tab here, and what we're gonna do is I want to use the exposure to go up and down because that's more realistic than using opacity. So it's gonna reset that. What I'm gonna do is go ahead and I'll click the exposure tab, stopwatch here to go to the expression controls, and here we're gonna type in wiggle, open parentheses, and we're gonna go with something like 3, 1, down parentheses, like this. So what these numbers mean is 3 times a second it will change with a factor of 1 in the exposure. This might be a little harsh. Let's go look at it. It's a little hard. It's a little bit more bright. So let's go ahead and change the factor to 0.7, like this. So it's not a full 1. So the brightest spot is not as bright as we would think it is. Let's drop it down if it's 0.5, so we're not doing any mistakes there. Let's keep it real settle. And if you want it to evolve faster, then you can use wiggle. You can make, for example, 10 times a second or something like this. This is really settle, and this is what I like. I like this. Looking good. Let's put the body glow on top of our footage, so it's behind our fire. Now we can see how it reacts. It's settled, but I like it. Then what we can do is we can go ahead and just duplicate this. Duplicate that glow effect. And let's go ahead and feather it out to something like 90 pixels. And now we got some nice glowing action happening in here. But that's not the only thing we want to affect. We also want to affect this oil tank here. This also gonna need some glow here. So instead of doing everything from the beginning, what we can do is select the body glow here. And since this is a mask, we can go ahead and create a new mask. So then we can go ahead and just create a mask from the rim of the oil tank here. Like this. And boom. Now it got that fire element going on there, or the coloring. Let's go ahead and feather it out to something like 40 pixels. Let's make it 50. And also, since this is the same layer, it got the same exposure wiggling happening, so it also evolves here. So that's nice. And then we're going to go ahead and drop the opacity for that. Mask opacity down to something like 40%. That looks pretty good. Just like a subtle edge glow to the oil tank itself, that also pulsating with that exposure. It's a subtle thing, but it looks good like that. Alright, we got one thing left to do, and that is heat distortion. And I'm gonna use a plugin from ActionVFX, videocopilot.net. Their heat distortion plugin is really right on the money. I love it. They have nothing to do with this episode. I really just love their products. But if you don't have the money to spend on that heat distortion, it's not expensive, and I really recommend you to go check it out. Link down in the description to go check it out. As said, they have nothing to do with this episode. I just really love their products also. So I have a tutorial. I will have it linked up in the cards right now about how to create your own heat distortion, and that's super cool how you can do that too. So you can create your own heat distortion if you want to. So what I'm gonna do is create an adjustment layer here and call this HD for heat distortion. What I want to do is go ahead and create an elliptical mask here, and I want to do this elliptical mask somewhere around here. I'm going to select these points here and start editing this so it looks just have a little bit of the form of the fire here. Like this. Let's go ahead and feather this one out. That's something like 60 pixels. That could look good. And then we'll go ahead and drop the heat distortion plugin from Video Copilot right here. That will add also already some heat distortion stuff. But before we do anything, let's go and take the none and let's parent this to the track also, so it also moves. And I want the this super settle. Let's have the distortion amount to something like 4, the heat amount to something like 9, the heat bias to something like 0.6. Let's have the distortion 6 also. Wind speed, keep it at 0, 0.5. Wind direction, 90 degrees to the right. And that should pretty much, I'll make a quick render to see how it's looking. Alright, so now we got our fire and we got some heat distortion. It's super subtle, but I really dig it. It really puts everything together really nicely. So the last thing to do here is to put on your favorite color grade like this. And after your color grade, you have this. It looks pretty good. I really dig how this is looking. Some cool fiery, cinematic fiery effects here. And if you did want to know how to set your hand on fire like this here, don't worry, because this exact method I did with the exact same fire element in the hand. I just mask up anything. I just used the top part for the hand, and it looks pretty good. And I really dig how this is looking. It turned out nice. And hey, this is the end of the video. Hope you guys did enjoy this tutorial, and if you did, don't forget to crush that like button like never before. And you know, comment down below what you thought of this video and what you expect for the next one. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And don't forget to hit that notification bell to never miss out on your next video. So there's a lot cool stuff coming up. My name is VK, and I'll see you guys in the next one.